Great. So today's topic is very interesting. Workforce 2026, AI, GCCs, and reinvention of talent.
GCC of the world has actually moved from transition to transformation, from capacity to capability, and from volume to value business.
Seeing you quoting many times, where up to 20% of GCCs today are real in the core AI and innovation business. And they've been really looking India as a major talent hub to get them the real work done.
India has roughly 1800 plus GCC operating right now. We are adding almost 80 to 100 new GCC every year. Almost every 1 out of 3 Fortune 500 company has a GCC in India. What is more important, the economic value addition done by the GCC. They contribute almost 65 to 70 billion export, almost 1.8% of the India's GDP. They employ roughly 2 million people every year. Last year, GCC added almost 140,000 employees. This year, they are expected to add 180,000 to 2 lakh employees. The second takeaway is the demand-supply gap, which is also one of my biggest concerns today. We see huge demand-supply gap in emerging technology. If you talk about AI and data, almost 38% to 42% supply gap. It means every 10 AI and data role, we have only 6 active candidates. First, AI was, it was assistant. It has become a, AI co-worker.
Co-pilot.
So let's say today what human do? Today human manage human manage a certain process. In future, the human will be managing agent, right? So you will become a manager of the agent.
So I think let me take to this final question of this particular segment. Do you believe this growth which you spoke about, we talk about two contexts here. One, the GCCs. Second, of course, the staffing ecosystem,
What will be more important is your functional knowledge. How much you know about automobile, or how much you know about metal, or how much you know about semiconductor. So your core skill, core function knowledge will be more critical, plus your AI fluency.
Hello everyone, welcome to the 6th episode of Transcend, which is presented to you in new avatar. Transcend is an initiative from Talent Recruit where we invite leaders who share their perspective on organizational success, industry trends, and how the rising role of AI and automation in HR, especially in hiring ecosystem. Today I'm joined by someone who is a very strong leader in IT staffing and general staffing industry, who has strong experience in delivering the industry outcomes. None other than Kapil Joshi, who is CEO of Quess IT Staffing, Recruitment and Search. Kapil is a very strong leader, having experience in multi-geographies, and he has very strong expertise in GCCs and talent ecosystem. On a personal note, I know Kapil from more than a decade, ever since from where he was working in Comtel in Singapore, and when he joined back India business of Quess, and seeing him from the first row where he has been able to scale up and build impactful teams, operational efficiency, and very strong delivery of industry outcomes. Welcome, Kapil, and great to have you here today.
Thank you, Alok. It's an absolute pleasure to meeting you again on this platform. My pleasure.
Great. So today's topic is very interesting. Workforce 2026, AI, GCCs, and reinvention of talent. Before we divulge into detail of this particular topic, we have segmented this session into 3 sessions. The first session, we are going to talk about industry evolution. Before we talk about the future, let's take a step back. You've seen last 10 years, where we have seen massive impact of technology, businesses have been disrupted overnight, and of course, the way the organization looking talent today. So Kapil, you have been with Quess since 2015 in leadership roles and have been in the industry and seen this very closely, how it's being evolving. How has this journey shaped your perspective on the industry's transformation over the last decade?
Thanks, Alok. I must say, great question. 10 years was like a roller coaster. If you talk about the evolution, there are two sides of it. One is how our client has evolved and how staffing industry has evolved. Okay, so when you look at the client, GCC of the world has actually moved from transition to transformation, from capacity to capability, and from volume to value business. When GCC came to India 2 decades back, it was more about cost arbitrage. They wanted to do repeated things more cost effective way. They wanted to run certain process, but for cost efficiency point of view, they came to India. Then slowly they got into delivery and execution. And today, if you see GCC curve, maturity curve, you will find almost 50% of the GCC actually gone beyond their support, back office operation, or delivery and execution to a product development and innovation level. So that is a fantastic journey. Same time, staffing company has also evolved dramatically. While we help GCC of the world through technology tool to transform themselves, we have also used a lot of technology to transform ourselves. You would know today, earlier, let's say, for example, onboarding process, associate used to walk in every day to our office, complete the induction process, with original document. Okay, today it's all about paperless onboarding, all right? So we use a lot of technology today to support our customer. And as a decade back, we were one of the service provider to GCC. Today, we are providing GCC as a service. It means we help GCC to, plan their transformational journey, digital automation, okay, transition their global practices to India, okay, identifying location, building talent, building infrastructure, and, providing them support to the compliance structure we already have inbuilt. So, staffing industry has also evolved along with the GCC.
Oh, that's a great insight, Kapil. You spoke about how the GCCs are moving from, taking as a cost arbitrage to making the innovation hub. And that's being seen, as you mentioned, one of the reference data point where 50% of the GCCs are looking the real talent which is coming into their engineering, product development, as well as the innovations they are doing. Referring to the data point, we have been seeing you quoting many times, where up to 20% of GCCs, today are real in the core AI and innovation business. And they've been really looking India as a major talent hub to get them the real work done, and that's a great insight, Kapil. Thank you very much for this. I think when we talk about the next segment, which is very, very key, of course, you are one of the strong leader in GCC domain, where you've been advising GCCs on various fronts, including talent and how they've been setting up their operations in India. So we are going to talk about this GCC shift and AI automation. And I'm sure this is going to be the core of this discussion today, right? So coming to the similar question, what we're talking about, if you can share some more insights, how you see this transformation from cost center to transformation hub or innovation hub, these GCCs are looking India in a very structured way. How do you see this shift playing out today? If you can give more insights and some data points.
Absolutely. The size and momentum both are, extraordinary. When you talk about the GCC, India has roughly 1,800 plus GCC operating right now. We are adding almost 80 to 100 new GCC every year. Almost every 1 out of 3 Fortune 500 company has a GCC in India. 1 out of every 4 Fortune 2000 company has a GCC in India. India hosts almost 55% of the total GCC, world GCC. And 50% of them are, origin from US. So it means there is a huge potential for grow when European and APEC-based GCC come to India. What is more important, the economic value addition done by this GCC, they contribute almost 65 to 70 billion to export and almost 1.8% of the India's GDP.
Wow.
So that's amazing. They employ roughly 2 million people every year. Last year, GCC added almost 140,000 employee. This year, they are expected to add 180,000 to 2 lakh employee. So, I mean, both the momentum is very strong. And what is interesting is that what is happening inside the GCC. So, like I said, if you look at the GCC you put them on GCC maturity curve, 50% of the GCCs are already moved from delivery execution to product innovation. They are designing the platform. They are doing a lot of R&D. They are running the global practices from India. Almost 180 plus GCC in India has a AI COE. Okay. Wow. 83% GCC are hiring on AI. 58% GCC are scaling heavily on agentic AI. So lot of exciting thing happening within the GCC. And if you put GCC on AI maturity curve, almost 20% I would say has reached to AI autonomous or AI augmented GCC category, where they have AI inbuilt in their workflow. They have AI framework, risk and governance framework already designed and developed. Okay, they use a lot of AI for their decision making. So it is very different world now. What is more interesting is that the growth is very diversified. It is across the sector. So we recently released our quarterly GCC report, and one of the interesting thing which we have found is that this growth, demand growth, is across the sector. So if you see, predominantly your major IT spend is actually come from BFSI, healthcare, retail, e-commerce. Okay, but now and EMPI. Now what we have seen, the growth is majority come from the sector which has not contributed much on IT spend, like your construction, real estate, infrastructure, travel, logistic. Okay, and these are the sector which has shown tremendous growth and demand flow in last quarter. So I'm quite hopeful that this growth will be long-term sustainable, and India is the place where GCC can thrive and become a part of global strategy.
That's a great insight, Kapil. You mentioned that the GCCs coming to India, they are from diversified or sector agnostic, because every industry we are seeing looking or eyeing Indian talent, and especially into the upper curve of AI innovation, which you just mentioned, and the significant contribution GCCs are making today is a tremendous 1.8% of GDP contribution, currently poised at $65 billion. I'm sure by 2030 it is estimated to be reaching by $108 billion, which is really massive. And I'm pretty sure the way we are seeing the new GCCs are coming, and when you say 1 out of 3 Fortune 500 GCCs are in India, so I'm sure the rest are not looking to stay behind, and they are Absolutely. Going to see opportunity being in India. And also, congratulations, you recently published your Q4 financial year 2026 GCC reports. It's an amazing insights for anyone who is GCC enthusiast to know about how the GCCs are operating, and also for those GCCs who are still not maybe taking decisions to come to India. Probably your report can give them huge insights. So congratulations on your recently published report on tech talent landscape report for GCCs. In this report, you highlighted trends like Gen Z attrition, staffing penetration, talent gaps, and diversified sustainable growth. What are the major or most critical insights leaders should pay attention to?
Yeah, so we are publishing this report for almost 3 years now. This is every quarter we publish it, and it is more about GCC insight only. And what we have seen in last, this report itself, as and when we add new metrics, new parameter to our report, it has become more interesting. So there are 3 or 4 major takeaway from our Q4 report. One is, obviously I have mentioned, the growth is very much diversified. In Q4, we have seen almost to 14% demand growth. The second takeaway is the demand-supply gap, which is also one of my biggest concerns today. We see huge demand-supply gap in emerging technology. If you talk about AI and data, there is a almost 38%, 38 to 42% supply gap. It means for every 10 AI and data role, we have only 6 active candidates. Another area is, your cloud. Huge gap, almost 30 to 32% gap is there. Cybersecurity is another area where we have seen huge demand-supply gap. And what is concern here is that this gap is widening quarter after quarter. It means, we have to seriously need to do something about building internal capability, reskilling existing talent pool, and redeploy them. Okay, we see it. In our report, we have also categorized that 20% of total demand is actually getting fulfilled by reskilling and redeployment within the organization. Because we also track how the title and skill and job role change for individual within the organization. And we can say that almost 20% role are getting filled by, but 80% is still you are relying on the external hiring. Now, there is a huge demand-supply gap. The third one is Tier 2 cities are growing very fast. In last 3 years, total headcount based in Tier 2 city from GCC prospect has moved from 7% to 10%. So every year it is 100 basis point increment.
Wow.
So the demand growth is, momentum is very much there in Tier 2 city. But we have also seen that almost 50% position which are budgeted for Tier 2 because of the non-availability of talent is moving to Tier 1 city. Okay. So it will take time for Tier 2 city to get developed, but the way, 𝗵𝗶𝗿𝗄𝗳𝗏, Coimbatore, picking up, there are many other cities, picking up. I am sure very soon, by 2030, Tier 2 city contribution will be close to 15%. Fourth and most important thing, which may be, interesting for all of us, is that 1 out of every 4 people working in GCC today is, subcontractor. So, staff augmentation is very much acceptable norms. And, if you see in last 2 years, the subcontracting penetration in GCC world has moved from 18% to 25%. So that's amazing and very interesting.
Oh, I think that's an amazing insight. You spoke about talent gap, I'm just, while you talking about and giving some insights and data point, I just remembering, when early 90s, when Indian IT service sector was emerging and growing, we had the huge gap of the talent. And of course, when we see India, of course, we see abundance of manpower and talent. But at the same time, when you see something niche coming, there's always a gap, and that should always be the case. And then we saw that how quickly we bridged that gap. And I'm just trying to recall, there is a report in 2016, Google and Excel partner, where, when we talk about India's story from IT service to technology hub, when SaaS companies were emerging, and there was a huge gap they spoke about with respect to the real technology play in India and the gap of talent which is going to create the SaaS platform or technologies which were emerging at that point of time, because India was always known for IT service delivery, ecosystem rather than technology SaaS product. And I think 2016 to 2026, 10 years, today the entire gap has been bridged. Today, India is building outstanding SaaS scalable, massively scalable technology platform. And when you see then US was contributing close to 70% of total SaaS solutions. Today, India is fast picking up, and I see in next 10 years, India and US going to equally, serving SaaS solution of the world almost equal footing. So when you're talking about GCC perspective, the talent which you see the gap today in terms of, maybe cloud or maybe AI, I'm pretty sure that in next couple of years, when you're talking about reskilling, you're talking about the transition from people from Tier 2 to Tier 1 cities. And today we are living in a global village, because most of the organizations are talking about hybrid ecosystem. Even people don't need to walk away from their home to the tier 1 city. They can be in their own home
Yes.
and contribute to this entire GCC ecosystem in the real world where the real work of AI and innovation is taking place. So thanks, Kapil, for sharing this insight. So taking this discussion further, I'm coming to a very, very critical and crucial question, which is relevant to you as well as us as an organizations. So when we talk about AI and automation being rising, and how are staffing or industries or firms using these technologies for hiring, redeployment, and workforce transformation?
Alok, thanks for asking this question. It is very close to my heart. When 10 years back, I started my journey with the IT staffing world, there was famous saying in our business, you are as good as your delivery. You can sell world to the client, but what if you can't provide a one good resource?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And 10 years back, it was all about manual. There was not tool, so you actually depend on recruiter understanding with the client, recruiter understanding with the job description or talent market. There was hardly any talent inside available, though we had many job boards, but no talent inside. Though we had ATAs, but no analytics. So that was the situation. I mean, while we helped our client to transform through technology, I think we have used a lot of technology to transform ourselves also. I mean, from sourcing to screening, we have multiple platforms where a coding test can be generated, a unique coding test can be generated for each job description. There are boards who are doing conversational interview, and candidates are very much comfortable.
Correct.
All right. It can be scheduled based on candidate availability. You don't need to check with both the party,
Agree.
interviewer and candidate. Today, recruiter can hire across the skill. If 10 years back, I can't imagine that a recruiter can take interview on AI data also, cloud engineer also, and, on cyber security expert also. Today, technology has helped them to assess the candidate, even niche, super niche technology, which is invented a few days back. And they work like a SME, subject matter expert, with the help of AI.
Correct.
So that's a good thing. And and even for, candidate engagement or associate engagement, we have agentic, in fact, a year back, we have implemented our first agentic, AI to manage candidate from offer to joining. And you will be surprised that our joining ratio has moved up from 82% to 92%.
Wow.
After implementing this agent who actually take care of any concern of any new joinee or any candidate who has been offered. And most of this concern are like leave benefit or mediclaim benefit or other policy related, which, agentic AI is managing very successfully. We use AI today to track and manage our associate life cycle, when is their project going to complete, and then mapping them, this associate who are coming on the bench, to open requirement and redeploy them. So redeployment has improved significantly. Second thing, it also helps us to reskill, identifying the gap between the market, demand plus what capability they have. So we are able to identify skill gap and, train and deploy them faster. So a lot of things has happened, and you have seen, we are talking about GCC report, a lot of insights. So a big advantage today, I have a lot of data, and it was earlier also, but today I am able to do analytics over data. I am able to see what is the demand supply gap, what is the skill gap for individual level. The hiring has moved from reactive to proactive now. So, I mean, a huge change.
That's a great insight, Kapil. I think what transformation you're doing within the organization, that's well reflected in your business outcomes, and how you've been able to drive that. As you rightly mentioned, that how AI and automation is helping to scale the staffing business. We used to say earlier, 10 years back, one recruiter equal to X business, 10 recruiter is equal to 10X business. That particular equation or linear equation is busted by AI and automation. And today, to grow your business or scale your business, you don't need more recruiters, but you need recruiters who can leverage AI, automation
Absolutely, yes.
to scale up the business. So that's what, future I see, how recruiters or recruiting community is able to, take AI as their weapon
Absolutely.
to move forward and bring much different outcome as you are able to see the...
One more thing I forgot to tell you, this AI has helped us to build a virtual bench also.
Great.
GCC, staffing companies, biggest advantage is, speed up deployment. What takes normally 8 to 10 weeks, for you, we can deliver in couple of weeks. Okay. And how does it happen? Today, you know that most of the company is not, holding bench resource, right? That is actually worked in our favor. We have huge talent insight. So like, for example, I know in the market that who is sitting on the bench, who is coming out of the project and when he is coming out of the project, who is serving the notice period. So there is a large virtual bench available to me as a staffing, or with the staffing player because of the, AI. So our technology, enabled us. And that is where you see the penetration of staffing industry has moved, from 18% to 25%.
That's a significant jump because if you see elsewhere in the US, this is much, people are used to...
People are used to there.
Absolutely.
And so you are absolutely right. So I understand what are you saying.
Yeah.
So in US or Europe world, staff augmentation is very acceptable and important strategy for talent acquisition. It is core to their policy. But in India, maybe a decade back, it was more like body shopping or commodities. Candidate has some apprehension to join staffing organization. Employer has some apprehension or doubt on vendor capability. We have moved away from that era. Second thing, in India, we have roughly 6.5 million IT resource. Total subcontractor size is roughly 660,000 subcontractor. It means in IT staffing, staff augmentation is roughly 10%. It means overall in IT industry, 1 out of 10 is a subcontractor, but in GCC, 1 out of 4 is subcontractor. So, and I think GCC is also driving this wave of subcontracting.
That's great insight because you said the acceptability of staff augmentation as a core to the business for organizations, and the acceptability has been increasing multifold in India. I think I am also seeing when talking to various leaders in different industries where the hybrid workforce is the core to their talent ecosystem or talent planning, because today we are not only talking about permanent hiring or contract augmentation or staff augmentation, we are talking about the gig workforce. On the other hand, when you talked about that aspirational changes, the people who were earlier tabooed to be in a contract job, today the people prefer to be in a contract job, or more so, the gig workforce emergence, where you see by 2030, India is going to have 10% of total workforce as a gig workforce. And globally, it's going to be $1.8 trillion gig workforce by 2030. It's a huge, massive shift we are seeing. You also touched upon how, interviewing using AI or conversational interview is becoming a norm at the first level of interviewing, which is making not only life of interviewer or recruiter easy, but it's actually doing much better structured approach to take the first level of screening by AI. I think, today's Gen Z who are coming out from their college or university, they are used to giving the mock-up interviews using AI. But of course, the mid-age or lateral hiring people are getting used to. But I'm sure the people are more comfortable giving interview to AI because AI is comforting them much better. Because we are seeing today with 𝗪𝗪𝗪, we recently launched, which is an AI conversational interview platform. The candidates are really in a very comforting position when they are giving interviews to AI. And that's something I see a phenomenal shift in terms of screening. It's not only save time, it gives an outstanding experience and save a lot of or bring a lot of impact into the hiring ecosystem. So thanks, Kapil, for your wonderful insights. I think let's get into the next section, which is the most interesting one. In this section, we are going to talk about future trends, technology, and sustainability. We spoke about last 10 years or last decade, where huge transformation of technology, the shift which we have seen, in technology, and the way people have been looking to see the innovations every new day, the disruption happening. I think next 10 years going to be much, much different, because we saw the speed of AI, the speed of technology, speed of automation, which is happening now. This is going to intensify multifold. And I'm sure as a leader, you must be envisaging what's going ahead, and you have already been taking a lot of steps to get yourself as an organization future ready. In similar ways, a lot of other organizations are making themselves future ready for the new disruption, or maybe they are the organization creating the disruption. So my first question to you in this segment would be, looking ahead, let's say 3 to 4 years, because 10 years looks much different to predict at the moment. What are the top technologies that will define the future of work and industries?
So I will talk more about technology side only, may not be on technology impact on non-IT side. So you have recently seen first AI was, it was assistant. So it was AI assistant. It has become a, AI co-worker now.
Yeah.
And very soon it will become autonomous.
Correct.
It means working independently. You have spoken about co-pilot. I think very soon co-pilot will become an autopilot.
Autopilot.
Okay. So human skill, what we would required will be totally different. So point I'm trying to tell you is that, in future, and we see it, today we have seen the demand for, let's say, business analyst, or for testing, or for coding, or, your operational, what you call shared services, FP&A, supply chain management, is already going down by almost 15 to 20% year after year, okay, because of the AI. And as we move from co-pilot to autopilot, and when your AI assistant become autonomous, I think the industry demand and talent demand will be totally different.
Correct.
What will be more important will be is your functional knowledge. So let's say, for example, how much you know about automobile, or how much you know about metal, or how much you know about semiconductor. So your core skill, core function knowledge will be more critical, plus your AI fluency. That how you can use AI tool, and how much AI tool you can use to deliver the outcome. Second thing, you have also spoken about gig worker. What is happening now, we are moving from KRA, KPI, and from job description to the task. So even department and function may not work in an organization. It will be a task-based. Everything will be task-based, and you will have a task force, which may be most of the time gig worker, and the commercial model will be based on the outcome. Right? So that is what I think it's coming in the future.
In fact, you answered my second question and touched upon how AI from assistant to co-pilot to autonomous, right? Just to tell about, we have launched in last couple of quarters 9 agents. And now we are launching another pilot to club or integrate these agents to make it autonomous, right? That's what we are also doing as a part of the product strategy. But when you look at in the context of what you just said, the future workforce could be much different, who leverage AI in a more structured way, and probably things are moving to touchless, when you say largely from assistant to co-pilot to autonomous ecosystem. What is the role of a human going to be, and do you think that the quantum of workforce needed, and the relevance of human, how that is going to be seen in future? Probably you would like to touch upon, maybe in the context of maybe recruiting community, hiring teams, or recruiters of the future.
So let's say today what human do. Today human manage human. Human manage a certain process, right? In future, the human will be managing agent, right? So you will become a manager of the agent. Every human being will be manager of the agent. You will be monitoring agent productivity, performance, productivity, efficiency, quality, right? What you need is, AI fluency, right? What skill you would require will be more of, maybe a critical thinking, decision making, creativity. So that's how I think it going to get evolved.
I think I'm just smiling the way you answered. So we saw an era where agents are managing human. We are seeing the role reversal when humans are going to manage agents. Absolutely. I think soon we'll see agents are managing agents. Correct. And the agent war we're going to see.
Absolutely. Yes.
I think the great insight. We are transiting to a new era. So I think let me take to this final question of this particular segment here. Do you believe this growth which you spoke about? We talk about two contexts here. One, the GCCs. Second, of course, the staffing ecosystem. How do you see this growth, which looks to be sustainable to you, or are we heading towards another correction cycle, given the technology, the way it's being disrupting, or maybe some other external factors?
So, Alok, I'm very optimistic. I mean, you know me for 10 years.
Absolutely.
And I strongly believe this year was decade. We called it decade. You remember in 2020 when talent war started, post-COVID, we were talking about the decade. And I think it is actually, if you look at the GCC and AI impact, and India is the right place. We have roughly, 16% of the world AI talent is based in India. We have roughly 400,000 AI, workforce.
Wow.
With the government push for India AI mission, semicon mission, and another push for digital public infrastructure, I see, what India provide is, skill at scale. Okay, that will continue. Second thing, like I said, only 1 out of 3 Fortune 500 or 1 out of 4 Fortune 2000 companies here. It means a large base is yet to ship to India. Many countries, because half of the GCC in India is right now from US based, so rest of the world is looking
picking up.
Yes, picking up very well. Most importantly, I also see the new wave of nano GCC.
Wow.
So these are the smaller firm, maybe a revenue less than 1 billion, funded by startup, funded by VC. They are setting up the team here for product development. They are setting up the COE for AI data, for R&D work. So that is another new trend where you have nano GCC coming to India. So it is no more Fortune 500 or 2000. It is a larger base which is expected to come to India, and we see multiple practices. It is not just shared services or operational work or support, but we see GCC running multiple practices here. They are running cybersecurity, AI data, cloud, expanding heavily. They support almost every organization or subsidiary across the world from India, not just one country or not just headquarter. And another thing which we have seen in our last quarter report is, the growth is diversified. Predominantly your biggest IT spender was BFSI and manufacturing engineering. Now in recent past, healthcare and retail also started contributing. But what we have seen now, even the smaller sector, construction, engineering, metal, to travel, hospitality, logistics, they are all started contributing, and they don't want to be, behind in this race of AI. They don't want to be left out. So I think it is interesting time. What we need to do is that, like what we have managed for last decade, that we have transformed ourselves. We have to stay relevant. Be it a delivery model, be it a commercial model, we need to understand the industry requirement, and we need to support, like at in our organization, from a vendor to a GCC or a GCC service provider, we today offer GCC as a service. So from identifying location to, designing and planning, a digital transformation, planning their global practices, getting transition to India and scaling up. So that is all what we do today. And, maybe the future, we don't know that what else we would require to do, but are we ready? Yes, I think we have that mindset and we are at the right place right now.
I know you have been hugely ambitious and optimistic about the future. So is India. So are the people outside India looking India as a prospect for the future. A lot of good insights that came in, from
Alok,
you.
I want to tell you one more thing. I mean, since you said outside India, I was recently, I was fortunate enough to become a part of NESCOM delegation, which has moved to Germany.
Okay.
India and Germany has signed India AI, AI Pact in India AI Summit, and this was the follow-up tour where, I realized, where in Germany I realized that, see, if today you see there are two superpower, America and China, when it comes to the AI, right? Whether it is a basic infrastructure, any layer you talk, today they dominate in AI. But one thing is that both are unreliable, right? You can't rely on them. Second thing, especially when it comes to the AI, you need sovereignty, you need inclusivity, and you need to make sure that AI work for all, right? So I have seen there is a lot of push where Europe is looking AI, India as a partner, okay? They have their majority of economy is, mid-size, small organization who are, great or niche, super niche in whatever they do, like, Industry 4.0, they are champion, okay? But nobody want to be behind in the AI race, okay? And the world is actually looking for India.
So I think there's a great insight. When you're talking, today we talk about AI, then we talk about responsible AI, ethical AI,
Absolutely.
And AI governance. And you say between the two of the nations, China and US, which are largely being, providing a lot of AI-enabled solutions, India is being seen as a responsible and ethical AI. That's something which is a great insight. And also when you spoke about...
See, we may be little slow, but I think whatever we'll do right. And for larger economy, for larger world.
Absolutely. That's what India is known for.
The AI, at least, when, in India, AI will not be property of few,
countries,
few companies.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. No, I think people have learned to evolve, because you touched upon something very interesting called nano GCC. It looks like MSME of GCCs, right? So where, not only the large organizations looking India as a talent hub, the smaller organizations which can leverage India's talent to become large globally. So I think this shift which you just talked about, it looks much promising to me than the large GCC coming, maybe Fortune 500 to leverage our talent. And that's where we'll become the talent ecosystem for the world. I think that's a great insight. So for our viewers, I'm sure they've got huge insights of today's conversation we had. It's really very, very interesting, hugely driven by the numbers you spoke about. You spoke about, your GCC report, your experience working with GCC, from GCC vendor to GCC partner. That's where the transition you have seen in last few years. And I'm sure we will evolve more similar words when we move forward in future to generate more value with our ecosystem, what we are offering as a country and nation. Thank you very much for the insights you've given. And I'm sure our viewers will see this, and they will also be enlightened with a lot of information which we just spoke about. And we'll continue to bring this podcast Transcend. And until then, thank you very much. Goodbye. And we'll meet next time with new leader. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it, Kapil.